Right, so today we're going to look at section 2.5. This is on what we call solving compound inequalities. So a compound inequality is usually when we have two inequalities we're solving at the same time. They're not any more complicated than what we've already been doing. It's just we have two of them at the same time, and there's usually a word between them. Okay, so I'll show you guys what those look like. So first thing on your guided notes, I know it's a little bit small, so you might have to write above the line, but it says a blank is an inequality formed by joining two inequalities. And the word there is in bold, compound inequality. So a compound inequality is when you have two inequalities, and there's two different words that you can put between them. And that's the next blank. You can either use the word and if you put the word and, that is called a conjunction. So in parentheses, you have a spot to write and then conjunction. Or the other word you can use is or. If you put the word or between two inequalities, that's called a disjunction. So the two words you're going to see come up a lot today are and the word or. And both of these inequalities have a certain look to them. Like every inequality we've graphed so far has been one circle, either open or closed, and then shaded in one direction. Well, if you have an and, okay, let's start with that. The graph of an and is where the two inequalities overlap. It's where the two inequalities overlap. I'm going to show you guys an example right now. So on your guided notes where it says is where the two inequalities, and then you have a blank line, you want to fill in the word overlap. And then it says to graph, and then you guys have a long blank line there. Write in, connect the dots. That's basically what it's going to look like. We're going to have two dots, and we're going to connect them. Yes?
I didn't get a paper.
You get a paper? There you go. You're welcome. All right, so let's look at this one. Okay, this is a conjunction. And a conjunction is, we know it's a conjunction because it has the word and. Let's number the number line. We'll start at 0. Don't have to number the whole thing. That's enough. Just number 0 through 6. And for a minute, I want you to pretend like that other inequality isn't even there. Okay. Just pretend that it's just x is greater than or equal to 2. What kind of circle would we use on this one? Yeah? What kind? Does anyone agree or disagree with empty? And tell me why. Yeah?
Should we fold because there's a line under the inequality sign?
Right. We have a line under the inequality sign, so we want to fill the circle in. So start with that. Now, if you fill that circle in, that's the first part. Which way would you normally shade? Yeah?
Right.
Sorry, can you say it again?
To the right.
To the right. Yeah, we would shade to the right. So don't shade yet. Just go like this. just put a little arrow above that, telling me that normally you would continue shading to the right and you would never stop. But the difference with an and is now you're going to stop. You're not going to just keep shading to the right forever. You're going to stop at a number. The number we're going to stop at is 5. So what kind of circle would we need on 5? An open circle. And if that was the only inequality you had, x is less than 5, which way would you shade? You would shade to the left. So just put a little arrow above telling me you would shade to the left. So x is greater than or equal to 2 means you would shade right, and normally you wouldn't stop. But x also has to be less than 5. So what this is kind of telling you is it's like it's a between. You're shading everything greater than or equal to 2, which means we're going to shade this way. And whatever we shade also has to be smaller than 5. So then we want to shade this way. That's what an and looks like. It doesn't usually have an arrow going on forever when you shade. Just like we said right here. It's like we just connected the dots. And we shaded between the two. So that's what an and generally looks like. And there's 4 different kind of options you can have. And you'll see them when you do edge elastic. You'll have a tool that looks like this. That would be the tool if you needed a filled in circle on each end. You'll have a tool that looks like this. That would be if you needed a filled in circle on the left end, but a not filled in one on the right. Then you'll have a tool where they're both open, both not filled in. And there'll be another tool where it's open on the left, filled in on the right. So you'll just click on the one you want, drag it up to the bar, and then you'll be able to click on that dot and drag it anywhere you want. So you can put it on the number. Most of the time, it's going to be a nice number. It's not going to be a decimal where you have to try to figure out where to put it. Okay, so that's an and. Or is a little different. Right? It's almost the opposite of what we did right here. And we shaded everything between. Or is going to be shading everything outside. Okay, so for the graph of an or, we're going to shade everything that's outside. So on your guided notes, it says for the graph of an or, we shade, and you're going to write down everything. And I'll just add there everything, let's say everything outside dots. Just to make that a little clearer. Shade everything that's outside the dots. And when you shade what's outside the dots, usually one ends up shading to the left, and the other dot you end up shading to the right. So you end up shading in opposite directions. And we'll try an example of that. Okay, so we need to number this. I think if we start at 1, that'll be fine. That's plenty. And now this is what we call a disjunction, because it has the word or. A big difference between or and and. So start with this one. X is less than 3. Can anybody tell me what kind of circle I would use for that? Great. Open. And on what number?
Yeah.
On 3. And which way would you shade for everything less than 3? To the left. And that's okay to do that. Let's go ahead and do it. So we're going to shade everything that is smaller than 3. That's half our answer. Or we can shade everything greater than or equal to 6. What kind of circle would we need this time? Lexi? Closed on what number? On 6. And which way would you shade this time? To the right. That is what an OR usually looks like. It's everything outside the dots. And it goes in opposite directions. One goes left, the other one goes right. So any questions on the difference between what an AND looks like compared to an OR? All right, so one thing I want to take a look at, when you write something like this whole thing, there is no shorter way to write it. This is as simple as you can possibly write something with an OR. But when you have an AND, that thing that I just circled, that's the long way to write it. We don't have to write it out the long way. I'm going to show you how you can take this and write it the short way. And that's what the next 3 blank lines are on your guided notes. Okay, so here's another example of a conjunction. And you have a spot, you can fill that in on the blank on your guided notes. How do I know that this is a conjunction? What tells me right away? Abby? The word and. Yep. So that can be written shorter without writing the word and. And I'm going to show you how you can do it. So there's 3 steps to write this in a shorter way. It's not that this is wrong. This is fine. It's just there's a shorter way that you're going to usually see it written. Yeah?
I don't know that.
Yeah. Here's how you do it. Step 1. So on the blank line that says 1, it says put the variable in the middle. So we're going to have something on the left and the right. Start with a letter in the middle. Step 2, you're going to look at both of your numbers, -1 and 4 in this case. Put the smaller number on the left and put the bigger number on the right. When I say on the left and on the right, I mean to the left and to the right of the X. So step 2, put the smaller number on the left, put the bigger number on the right. Yes?
Is that negative?
That's what I'm going to ask right now. So I was just going to give people a second to write that down. And then I was going to ask. So look at your 2 numbers, -1 and 4. Which number is smaller? Yep.
-4.
Which number?
-4.
So we don't have a -4 in this one.
Oh.
What are my 2 numbers in this one?
Oh, -1 and 4.
-1 and 4.
-1.
And the -1 is smaller. Yep. So put the smaller number on the left, leave a little bit of space in between. And what's my bigger number? Yep. 4. Put the 4 on the right. That's step 2. Last step is you're going to write down inequality symbols. You're going to put one right here, and you're going to put one right there. They both should point to the left. Both inequality symbols need to point towards the smaller number, just like this. That's pointing to the left. That's pointing to the left. And that's the answer. That's how you can take a statement like that and combine it into a single inequality. When you write it like this, it's like the word and is invisible. It's still there, but it's invisible. When you read it, you say and. The way you pronounce this is you start from the middle when you read it. X is greater than negative 1, and x is less than 4. The two original inequalities, that one is that one. You have an x and a negative 1, and it's pointing at the negative 1. It's exactly what we have right here. X, negative 1, it's pointing at the negative 1. And the other inequality is x with a 4, and it's pointing at the x. X with a 4, and it's pointing at the x. That's how you combine those two into one. If you had a problem and you had to write the answer, I don't care which way you write it, but if I gave you something like this on a test and I asked you to graph it, you would have to know that this means what's up above. Okay? So with an and, you can shorten it. With an or, you can't. If it's an or problem, you will always see it written out completely, just like we did right there. That's as short as an or problem is. Yeah? Yeah. So let's go back and look at this one that we just did. Let's see if we could write this in a shorter way. Okay, this part, you guys you can just help me with it. You don't have to write it down unless you want to. But what would be my first step to write this conjunction shorter? What's step 1? Yeah? Put the variable in the middle. Okay. What's going to go on the left? Yeah? The number 2. What's going to go on the right? Yeah? 5. And which way do my inequality signs point? Yeah?
To the left.
They both point to the left. Now, if it had a line under it originally, keep the line under it. If it didn't have a line under it, then don't put a line under it. So the one that's pointing with the 2, it had a line under it. So keep it pointing at the 2, just like it is here, and put a line under it. Yes, it ends up flipping around. That's just how it always happens when you do this, and that's fine. One of them always flips around. How about the one with the 5? Did that have a line under it? No. So the one with the 5, don't put the line under it. That and that are exactly the same. Any questions on that? All right, so let's try. I think as far as like the notes, like for explaining things, that's it. So now we just have, I think, four examples. It says write each sentence as an inequality and then graph. Okay, do you guys already have the number lines on your paper? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So it says a number x is greater than negative 8, and it's also less than or equal to 4. Let's just start with that. X is greater than negative 8. How would I write that as an inequality without all those words? Basically, like, what symbols would I use and which way would they point? Yeah, Abby, what's the first thing I would write down?
X.
Yep, X. And then what symbol?
Right.
The symbol for the greater than points to the right. So X is greater than what number? Negative 8. There you go, that's your first one. and it says less than or equal to 4. Well, when it says less than or equal to 4, what are they talking about? What's less than or equal to 4? Yeah? X. We're still talking about X. It's the same subject in that sentence. Right? X is less than or equal to 4. Emily, which way does the less than or equal to point? To the left. And Joe, what number does it say I'm less than or equal to?
4.
The number 4. There we go. And that's perfectly fine. It said to write it as an inequality. You've done that. Is this the type of inequality that could be combined to be shorter? What do you think, Abby? Yes, it is. Because it's an and, you could. But you don't have it. All right, let's do our number line. If we go by ones, I don't think we're going to have enough space. So let's go by twos. So -8, 6, 4, 2, 0. Yeah, I labeled a little bit more than I needed, but that's okay. Okay, start with the one on the left. Maya, what kind of circle on -8?
Open.
Open. Finnegan, what kind of circle on 4?
Open or close.
Why?
Because the line under it.
Because it has the line under it. Good. And this is an and. So where do I shade? Is it between? Or is it outside the lines? Yep. Between. Yep. With an and, we always shade between. No arrows on anything that I just drew because it doesn't keep going. It starts at -8. It stops at +4. And that was example 1. Any question on that one? All right. How about you guys try B. A number y is less than 0 or greater than 2. So y is less than 0 or greater than 2. All right, so on yours, you guys had the or equal to, so I just added that in on mine. So let's start with that. Y is less than or equal to 0. How would we, well, what letter are they telling us to use first? Please? Yeah, so we're going to start with Y. We're going to put the less than or equal to, so we should point to the left. And what does it say we have to be less than or equal to? Yeah? Yeah, less than or equal to 0. So there's our first one. And then what word is going to come after it? Are we using and or? Yeah. This is or. So it's going to be a different looking graph than the last one. This is an or. And then it says or greater than or equal to 2. Well, when they write greater than or equal to 2, what are they talking about? What's greater than or equal to 2? Yeah? Y. Okay, they're not going to repeat the subject again. It's still Y. So y greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so there's your inequality. Could you shorten that if I asked you to? You think, Caleb? No, why not? Because we could shorten this one, right? So what's the difference? Why can't we shorten this one? Lexi? Yeah, it's a disjunction. You can't shorten an or statement. Or statements have to just be written out every time. All right, so number line. We don't need very many numbers here. I think that's good enough. How about Jacinda? What kind of circle on 0?
Close.
Closed. How about on 2?
Closed.
Closed. And Mia, which way would I shade? Between the dots or outside? Outside, right? This is an or. So we want to shade everything that goes to the left of 0. And we want to shade everything to the right of 2. And that's what it should look like. Any questions on that? All right, so that was just taking a sentence, nothing you really had to solve, but just taking a sentence, changing it to an inequality. Now, let's look at one that you have to solve. So this is just like what we did last night, except you're solving 2 problems at the same time. Well, you're going to do one, then you do the other one. And they're totally separate, so we'll do them separate. So 5 plus x is greater than negative 6. And 3x plus 5 is less than 20. So this is the bottom one on the lower left on your guided notes. Let's do this one together, and then I'll give you guys a second to try the next one. All right, let's start with 5 plus x is greater than negative 6. There's only one step. Does anybody see the one step to get x by itself there? Yep, Alex.
Minus 5 from both sides.
Yep, we're going to minus 5 from both sides. 5 minus 5 is gone, and the only thing on the left is x. Yep. Don't flip the inequality, because we didn't divide by a negative. That rule still applies, but we didn't do it. And what's negative 6 minus 5? Yep. Positive or negative? Negative, yeah. Okay, so x is greater than negative 11. What word are we using in this problem, Dorian? And. So make sure you write down the word and. And now we'll solve the other one. But this one's going to have 2 steps. Natalie, what's my first step to get this x by itself? Good. Subtract 5 from both sides. And what will that give me, Natalie, for an inequality that I'm going to put right here? Yep. Good. 3x is less than 15. And Emily, what would be my last step? Divide both sides by 3. And Joe, since I divided by 3, should I flip the inequality? No. Yeah, because we didn't divide by a negative. So Joe, what do I get there? X is so what symbol is this first? Less than. And then what did you say? 5. Good. Okay. So now we have something we can graph. Let's see. I'm going to just go by 5s. Because this is kind of a big range between those 2 numbers. So I just numbered by 5s. What kind of circle do we need on negative 11? Yep, Lexi. Open. So just put that a little bit left of negative 10. On Edge Elastic, it'll help you do that. And what kind of circle on 5? Sean? Yep, I agree with open. And where do we shade this time? Yep. In between, because it's an and. Right? Connect the dots. Just like that. Any questions on that one? All right. I think I'm going to skip 2B. No, that might be a good one to do. So let's probably skip 3 for now. Let's try this one. What kind of statement is this? Even though they didn't write the word, it's invisible. Yeah?
And.
What is it?
And.
This is an and. My advice would be to take this and write it the long way. How do you do that? Put a box around that. That's going to be one of the things that we have to solve. And then put a box around this. That's the other one. The middle is in both. So this is an and. And the first one we have to solve is -3 is less than 2x plus 1, just what's in the black box. And the other one we have to solve is what's in the red box. 2x plus 1 is less than 9. I think if you split it like that, then you can solve it just like we did the last problem. Any questions on where these two inequalities came from? All right, and let's just solve it. Start with the one on the left. Finnegan, tell me my first step to solve the one on the left.
Subtracting 1.
Yep. In fact, that's also going to be the first step on the right. Whenever you take a problem like this and split it, it ends up being the exact same steps. So subtract 1 from both sides. Again, -4 is less than 2x. And Dorian, what's my last step?
Your last step is dividing both sides by 2.
Good. Divide both sides by 2. And I get -2 is less than x. Or if I want to fix it so that it's in the order we like, variable on the left, number on the right. In which way should it be pointed? Remember, we're just fixing it so that it's letter, symbol, number. Yeah? We still want it to be pointing at the -2. Okay, we did not flip it because we divided by a negative. We just flipped it to put it in the right order we like to see it. Not that the one above was wrong. It's just not normally how we write. Now do the same steps on this one. Minus the 1 from both sides. 9 minus 1, what does that give me? Yep. 8. And then same thing you did here. Divide both sides by 2. 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. And it's a good idea just to copy down the word and that's your answer. So if x is greater than -2 and less than 4. All right. Michael, what kind of circle on -2? Open. Annika, what kind of circle on 4? Open. And this is an and. So where do I shade? Yep. In the middle. Perfect. Any question on that? We still have one more, guys. We have one more question. So we still have 10 minutes. let's do, this is an or. I'm not going to solve this one right now. It's just like the last problem, except when you're done, you don't shade between. You're going to shade opposite. So I'm going to skip this one and do this one. So this, do you guys already have this printed on your guided notes?
Yeah.
Let me make sure the temperatures are the same though. Does it say 32 and 105?
Yes.
Okay, I know sometimes one thing was a little different today. So it says electrical devices operate efficiently when they're in a certain temperature range. Okay, you might have noticed, like on a hot day, if you leave your phone out in the sun all day and you try to use it, sometimes it says that it's too hot. It's like overheated. Like you try to turn on the camera or something, it says it's too hot. So it says that the best range for this particular phone is when it's between 32 and 105. So it says write an inequality that represents this temperature range. So let's start with the information from here. We have to pick a letter that represents the temperature. What would be a good letter? You can use the letter we always use. Yep.
X.
Yep, we can use X. What's the lowest that we want the temperature to be? Yeah?
32.
32. So I know that I want, so X is the temperature. I want the temperature to be more than or equal to 32. But I don't want it to be like 600. 600 is more than 32, but I don't want it to go that high. So what else do we want to write for an inequality? Yeah.
X is less than or equal to 105.
Right. We want the temperature to be greater than or equal to 32. And we want the temperature to be less than or equal to 105. Now let's combine that shorter, because this is an and, so we can make it short. What are our 3 steps to combine it and make it shorter? Start with what? Yeah? Put the variable in the middle. What's going to go on the left? Yeah?
32.
32. Good. What goes on the right? Yeah? 105. And which way should my inequality symbols point? Caleb?
Going into each other.
So not the graph, but which way do the inequalities point? Yeah? They always point to the left. They both had an equal to under them, so they should both have an equal to under them here. Either one of those answers is correct. And that was the last one. Okay, so just a reminder tonight, the homework is the section 2.5 worksheet. Okay, 2.5 worksheet on school.